Normally, when someone's explaining themselves without being asked to explain themselves, is a proper excuse. But I'm actually just getting back into playing guitar after it's been about a month. Um, yeah, I didn't entirely plan it that way, but I have been playing daily since last summer, according to the recommendation of my teacher. And I had incredible progress. I think in the span of about maybe somewhere between 5 and 8 months, the progress took off within a few weeks. And each each time each day I was significantly stronger than the day before, and then it almost kind of just like it was almost like a mathematical function where when you practice daily, the progress is also daily. And then if you practice, some people say intermittent fasting, but my teacher taught me intermittent practicing, where you practice similar to like a strong habit like smoking or something, where it's you do it periodically as you get the opportunity and don't get the opportunity, and it becomes something of a mounting force. And in this sense, it's enjoyable, and it helps you connect with other people, and it's creative, and it's also healing in that way, and it also creates confidence with the guitar. Like so, my teacher has said like so if you're watching TV or something, do some of the you don't even have to necessarily play, just do do these exercises even as you're watching television. And I didn't so much do it while I was watching television, but just that approach really made a large difference where you're enjoying picking up the guitar as you get an opportunity intermittently throughout a morning or afternoon or evening or all that. And that type of approach really is profound. And then it's a little bit less daunting than like sitting down for long periods. Yet you can end up sitting down for longer periods than you would have. And so it's just you're doing more of longer periods and more of less periods and more of in between and more of all of that. And I was doing that over the course of about first a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, 3 months, 6 months, and up to about 8 months. And then I put the guitar down for about a month. I had a lot going on, but I was also planning to get a new guitar. And this guitar that I have is it's about the most the most simple guitar that they had when I walked in looking for a classical guitar some time back. But my father ended up using it a lot, and my father's from Africa, and they have a little bit of different appreciation for like property, like owning a property, than it would be appreciated in Western terms from the region where we are, according to my dad. But I did experience a little bit of that as a child when I was in Africa for a short period as a very small child that of which I can remember, and the idea of sharing was very different there. And I think that my experience as a person of African descent living in the United States, my experience in coming among other men and women and also men and boys of African descent is that there's a certain reciprocity in sharing both of insight, ideas, laughter, humor, and so forth. Where I think that there's something unique maybe about African heritage and culture, broadly and generally speaking, that is reciprocal and very sharing in nature. And I've pointed that out. I've equated that to ideas of like what some of what we have of our modern pop music can be traced through different iterations all the way back to folk music, in that on the work fields of the Americas in times of slavery, before that, but also in the work fields of America, and what amounted to like a relay or a coded message system had been the real art, the real value, and the real redemption in different art forms, including music. Not that the not that the art or the music wasn't enjoyable and beautiful in itself, but the message is yet a deeper layer and even a more sublime and nuanced layer where some people might know what I'm talking about, where you can come across someone from a certain background and they can be talking, they can be saying something that is entertaining and enlightening on the surface, yet there's a deeper message that can more so be appreciated by who they're intending that for, and it can be grasped by what they're saying. It's like a message within a message, a metaphor within a metaphor. I think I might have to give myself a pat on the back. I've done something similar with some of these videos, where I did some things where I was talking about like oranges and equating that to people who are medically segregated and understood to be one thing according to the training of someone else who was trained to understand human beings according to a training that amounts to labeling different things that amounts to segregation. That is an orange for that, and so I was talking like that, and then I was also talking about getting some form of like numbers gaming ran on me in a real life situation that had to do with a piece of property or equipment that allows me to sustain a lifestyle where I'm already heavily marginalized, segregated, and I think discriminated in many settings, coming into jobs and existing within jobs and leaving jobs while I'm experiencing all that. And some of my means to survive that and to account for that and overcome that has been with some like independent work that's available for people nowadays in recent years. And I think that might be a blessing from on high, some of the ability to do that now. And but this was a very this situation was in the middle of all that, this where the numbers was being run on me. So I was a little bit speaking in that sense in that style without exactly meaning to ape that or imitate that form of elocution. That's a very sublime, but it's also it is a tendon of African heritage and cultures going back to my superficial estimation and understanding. And I actually had a discussion with an eminent scholar, two eminent scholars that I've mentioned on this channel. I won't cite them directly, that I've spoken to in privacy, and they've confirmed statements like that with a much broader and deeper understanding and also experience of history and cultures, African cultures. Those two scholars are specifically both from the Caribbean, their heritage, and some of their experience, but they confirm that a lot of the real essence and value of African folk, and then a lot of our modern iterations had been the message within the message that reciprocity is very significant. And I'm not saying that's not all people, and I'm not also saying that all people aren't also from Africa or from somewhere else if they understand themselves to emanate from somewhere else, or and both. But my understanding is that there's a certain reciprocity in African heritage and culture that appreciates property differently than Western notions of property. And I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I do think that some of it has to do with our economic experiences and the rigors of social and environment, physical reality, some of which were mitigated in Europe by what amounted to feudalism, and understanding both property and kinship and inheritance and entitlement and standing and property and how that redoubles, and also nepotism maybe as and implicit and maybe biased favor based on pedigree or appearance or heritage and so forth as being part of the European experience. And then in Africa, you have maybe a communal setting, a communal environment, more so matriarchal, is my appreciation from my father's account, where the European feudalism is characterized by patriarchy, a strong father figure, male figure, as being primary, and then at least on the surface ostensibly, and then in the African societies had been the matriarchal, and I think also maybe societies indigenous to the Americas, and there may not be actually difference between those people on a deep level and also historical level, but when we factor for omissions in history. But all I meant to say is that I've come to appreciate property differently at different times, and I was attempting to give my guitar back to my father, but I didn't have the means after sustaining that work that I needed done to get a new guitar. And then my father also came under some health challenges, so I availed myself to take back the guitar that I purchased, but had more so been dear to my father, as I understood. So I'm just getting back to that. But the last thing I want to say is that I'm actually sharing my approach. Is that I think that actually might have been an improvised lesson where, if you appreciate some of my other videos where I'm playing that much daily, in some of the videos you can see that my hands are somewhat strained from the guitar work, and I'm trying a new approach of maybe playing like maybe 4 months at a time daily, and then taking a month to breathe, let the hand breathe, because ergonomics, the things that we do repetitively with our body in employment of some kind, whether hobby or living, it taxes the body. So this is an approach: 4 months on, 1 month